our session, which is called Enterprise Architecture Complete Guide to Integrated Toolchain and Business Transformation. I am Cristina. I'm an SAP Principal Enterprise Architect, and I am leading the SAP Reference Industry Case, which we are going to talk later. And together with me, I have my colleagues.
Hi Mark, I'm with SAP for 1 year, but I've been in IT for 20. I graduated as a lawyer actually, but the IT has been my home for the past 20 years. So I've been an in-house enterprise architect for 10 years, and in that time I did true S/4HANA transformation, leveraging parts of the toolchain. That be something I'll be talking about next.
Right, and my name is Meyer. Nice to meet you all. I have background in enterprise architecture services, so I started as a consultant, then joined the Signavio product for a couple of years on the go-to-market and engineering side, and now I am part of a team that is authoring and rolling out the reference business and solution architecture of SAP.
So that might be a bit strange. So we're here to talk about the integrated toolchain, and I bring you a quote from Cooking. What's the man talking about? Mise en place is you put everything ready, because when the rush is there and you have to put food on the plates, the cooking itself, there is no time to think. And I believe everybody of you has experienced that in the past. I can say for myself, I have, because there is no time. You have to really rush. So mise en place, so you have to have everything, pots and pans, the dishes, the ingredients, and just to translate this, you need tools, you need the people, you need the mindset, you need content. Lots of things need to be there before you can embark on your journey, and this is the key message. Prepare, and we will tell you or show you how to do that. Because it's great, we've heard so much about AI and S/4HANA. Well, how to get there? Part of the answer is here. This is the slide for the perfect pitch, but from the don't do that example. It just showcases what I basically just said. Your life in IT is really complicated. That's what it looks like. You've got many layers, directions. The only good thing about this slide is, as you see at the bottom, there's lots of things there. And I think lots of presentations here, they also bring in content. There is help. And speaking from personal experience, I always try to get as much help as I could possibly get to make my life easier, the transition for the companies I worked at easier to get there, because that's the only thing, especially business customers, care for. I want to get there. No, sorry, I want to be there. Getting there, I don't care. Do it tomorrow. Fine, and then it's your job to enable. Now, as I said, very complicated, but the tool chain. The tool chain is, in its essence, it's some tools. That's all it is. But if you have the tools, like in silos, that is the fantastic term we use nowadays, it takes all I have to keep it together. That's not what you want. That doesn't help you. So say you've got Signavio, you've got your processes, yeah? And on the other hand, you've got Linux. Fantastic, but you have to keep it together by organizational structures, methods, by people aligning and whatnot. What we are here to tell you is you link it. So you integrate. So basically and it already got a lot easier. So your processes you've got in Signavio, you now got in Linux as well. Vice versa, if I turn it around, the applications of Linux I haven't seen now, so they can be reused and used in the processes that are designed. And that's how it goes on and on. The processes, then you've got in Cloud ALM, you've got the projects of Cloud ALM, you design them in LinuxX, and they are transmitted. So it helps to get all the different people using the different tools aligned mentally. And that's very important. It's all about people, really. And it goes on. You want to test the things you designed in the toolchain, you want to test them. So you integrate and have them there as well, so you know what your test steps are, so you can think about automation, how AI can help you, but the principal structures are the same. Bad example, personal experience, the testing guys designed other processes. And then they tested and came back to us and said, this process doesn't work. You look at it and go, what process is that? I've never heard of this thing. So where does it? See, we didn't integrate. Synergy, data. No? It all feeds in, same processes, the data, you need data for testing. So it feeds into this. And last but not least, enable now, WalkMe, that helps the end users adapt the solution you have implemented. So that's what you want. That's what the business wants. They want things to be done with the new system. They want, well, business success, and that's what you get. And Enable Now and WalkMe, they help you, and they help your end users. And that's the tool chain. Therefore, that's what it is about. And now I'll hand over to my colleagues who will take you on a deeper dive on how this thing could look like.
Okay, awesome, Mark. Thanks a lot for that great overview, and I specifically liked the analogy on cooking. Let's now take a deeper step, or a step deeper into the core components of the integrated tool chain, which are, coming back to that analogy, 3 very sharp knives we have in the drawer. It's LinuxX for enterprise architecture management and application portfolio management. It's SAP Signavio when it comes to business process management and all the related process stakeholders, and Cloud ALM for application portfolio lifecycle management, and a rather technical group of people involved. And with that tool chain, now all 3 tools involved in the business transformation are integrated with one another, and we bring all the different stakeholders to the table. Now let's take a look at a recipe, how that could look like. So what does the integrated tool chain look like in more detail? And we all know recipes are a good guide, right? A good cook never follows exactly a recipe. Everyone does it slightly different. But this is a guidance you could start with. And typically you would start with enterprise architecture as the first step, with an enterprise architecture practice. And by the way, Michael is also giving a session around 3 o'clock on enterprise architecture practices. Anyway, as part of such a practice, you would set up a business capability map, of course, right? A business capability map is a key deliverable based on TOGAF, following Kotosev, we know that. And in LinuxX, you can design a current or baseline capability map linked to the respective applications. Then, with some research and a lot of discussions with stakeholders, you can derive a target business capability map, including the required SAP solutions and other solutions, of course. Then, as the next step, you would have to plan the transformation. So to move from the current to the target business capability map and application portfolio, of course. You can do that by syncing it to SAP Cloud ALM, where you can detail all the planning, of course. On the other hand, Cloud ALM is giving back information into LinuxX because it's feeding LinuxX with application and solution maintenance data, for example, the end-of-life data. The second step, and I mean that could also happen in parallel, of course, but that's the recipe we're looking at right now. The second step is detailed process analysis you would start in SAP Signavio with, right? So you would want to find out how well are my processes performing, how is the lead time, and how far am I deviating to that target process in SAP S/4HANA if I'm migrating. And once you've analyzed the process, you would then have to define a target process. How would you do that? You would have a lot of interviews and discussions with all the stakeholders involved, and then at some point in time be able to define a target process. Then you can approve and publish publish that process in SAP Signavio, and then hand it over to Cloud ALM for implementation and of course for testing. Now you might have seen that our 3 sharp knives have those bubbles up here. And this is business content and accelerators, meaning that we also provide business content, ready-to-use content in those 2 tools. So Signavio and LeanIX don't come as empty shells, but they have a lot of information to start with. And this business content and accelerators, coming back to that analogy, is a little bit like convenience ingredients. So when you're cooking, you have some ingredients which are already peeled and cut. So when you're cooking, it's faster, it's accelerated. And that's the same approach that you can, if you look at business transformation, use as well, because it helps you speed up the process of working with LeanIX and working with SAP Signavio. Now let's check this out. First of all, on the LeanIX side, we've seen it and we know it, of course. SAP LeanIX is our target solution when it comes to enterprise architecture management. And apart from great capabilities like the diagrams and the reports you can create and the user interface, it also comes with a reference catalog that I'm showing you on the right-hand side. And this catalog is SAP's and SAP's partners suggested business capabilities per industry. So you can combine different industries, take a look at it, and also import the business capabilities into your LeanIX workspace. You can also show suggested SAP solutions if you don't want to follow an agnostic point of view. By the way, you can also use some other filters, for example, for business processes. We're considering also scope items to be mapped here, and soon there will be business data objects. So anything related to the business capabilities when it comes to business data objects would be shown here. And then with just a few clicks, you can import that into your workspace. And of course, my heart beats for Signavio still. And we also have a lot of reference content available in SAP Signavio. We have a bunch of products for analysis, of course, but our SAP Signavio Process Explorer is the publicly available website where you can explore reference processes. That can be reference processes as a BPMN or as a value flow diagram. You can also filter for specific end-to-end processes for SAP products and, of course, for scope items. And then click through the tool and take a look at the reference processes. If you're then at the point and want to import the content into your workspace, that's possible as well with the Value Accelerator library provided by SAP Signavio. And then you can adjust the process to your needs. So you can add events, gateways, or swim lanes and work with it. And all of our content here is following the APQC notation and linked to helpful assets. For example, when it comes to the implementation, we have test scripts available, and we have also task tutorials. So in Enable Now, click through that's showing you how to conduct a specific process in the system step by step as an end user. All right, now that was an overview on the great ingredients following some industry flavor, right?
So I'm going to talk about a secret ingredient we have, just what we call the SAP Reference Architecture Industry Kits. Well, as the name suggests, these are basically industry-aligned, out-of-the-box and reusable architecture deliverables which are available into LeanIX. At the foundation of the industry kits, we have, of course, the SAP Enterprise Architecture Framework with its core reference architecture. But it's also enhanced with some what we call the pillars of the industry kits. First, we also embed the thought leadership. So what is SAP's point of view on a certain industry? What are the opportunities and as well as the trends where we can invest? Second, we have also the industry best practices. SAP, with its 50 years of experience, has gathered a lot of industry knowledge, which we also embed in our kits. And last but not least, we have our business suite, our suite of applications which support our customers to address their specific business needs. All of this packaged together, we have, and we offer the most commonly used enterprise architecture deliverables in terms of strategy map, capability maps, product maps, and so on, which basically all together combine into providing a guided transformation journey for our customers. Now, before we go into the details of the kits, we were asking ourselves, what do enterprise architects in the field need? And we came across some very specific motivation why we developed this. And first of all, we see the need for speed. Enterprise architecture needs to move faster. So right now we see architects are spending a lot of time modeling processes, applications, capabilities before even the real transformation begins. And the cost and complexity of building these models, of course, create barriers to adoption. Let's take, for example, what we have here, the target architecture, architecture overview diagram. It's one common deliverable we, as enterprise architects, produce to depict the target architecture. How many times have you been in this position to start with a blank canvas, where you need to start by building each application, each process, each capability, before even you have the first strategic discussion. And here, this is where we bring our industry kits. So in our industry kits, imagine that instead of starting with a blank canvas, you start with a blueprint of predefined processes, capability model, and industry best practices, which already reflect what leading organizations in the industry are doing. Of course, this doesn't mean that you stop tailoring or you stop designing, because this actually gives you a head start to really focus on what matters most, contextualizing and aligning to your business priorities and innovating where it matters most. Of course, these artifacts they're available in Meyer. This also gives us the opportunity to drill down into the details, to explore relationships, to bring more context into our deliverables. Next, we also saw that one of the biggest barriers we have in enterprise architecture is that we don't speak the same language. Different organizations, different teams use different models to define their business models. IT teams, they document their application in different formats, which doesn't match the business models. And as a result, we often see a misalignment between business and IT, with everyone working on different taxonomy. And how could that be different when we have so many reference models out there? Take APQC for process classification, OpenRoof for the capability model. The banking industry has its own reference model, and even IBM has its own component business model. Let me give you an example. Let's take these three expressions: manage customer relationships, customer interaction management, and party relationship management. What do all these expressions have in common? Actually, everything. They are basically the same thing, but they are expressed differently in the different reference models that we have there. So you can imagine why this can lead to a very lengthy discussion in any transformation project when building a capability model. Now, with our industry kits, the consistency, we actually start at the top. So we start from the strategy, where we depict SAP perspective on where the industry is heading. And here I have an example for the industrial manufacturing industry. So I hope I saw we have some representatives from that industry. So I hope this will be of interest for you. So we start with defining the strategy map. But unless these objectives are not linked, are directly linked to the business, they kind of remain abstract. And here is where the consistency in the industry kits comes into play. We connect each of the strategic priority to the business capability, thus making it making the capability as a shared vocabulary, which can, on one side, represent the expected outcomes that our executives need, and on the other side, the building blocks the enterprise architects needs to work on. And the consistency flows all the way to down to the application level. So using the same capability model, we can map directly to the application. Thus, we have a very stable framework which forms a consistency all the way from the top to the strategy down to the execution. Now, we talked about speed and consistency, but of course, what is next? I mean, too often enterprise architects spend a lot of time documenting the as-is and losing sight of the to-be architecture. And meanwhile, the innovation kind of gets stuck in endless ideation workshop with lots of ideas but no concrete execution plan. And when we have new technologies coming in like AI or new business model, enterprise architecture goes more into a reactive mode, scrambling to respond rather than actively driving the agenda. And this is exactly why we see the need to have a stable foundation or a platform for innovation. Now, again, I want to give you an example in the industrial manufacturing industry. So as I showed you before, well, let's take a step back. We see the recent research has shown that 71% of the industrial manufacturing companies have noticed the importance of the aftermarket service. And as well, they have noticed that there is bigger profit margins in the aftermarket service than in new equipment sales. These strategic directions we have already depicted in our strategy map. We already saw that our strategic objectives are linked to specific capabilities which enable those objectives. But let's take it a step further. What if we want to explore how AI can boost our aftermarket service performance? And how do we do that? First, let's dive into the solution value flow diagrams for the field service. Here we can see in one view what are the processes involved, the enabling capabilities, and the applications supporting it. Let's take, for example, the service scheduling and dispatching, which is a capability that allows us to review resource demand, assign resources or people, equipment, and so on to service tasks. Now comes the question, the quick key question: can AI improve this capability? And the answer is yes. How can I do that? We can see that there are several AI features which can be leveraged. They help us speed up scheduling, offer predictive insights, and even automate the resource planning, all which can be orchestrated by an intelligent field service agent dispatcher. Now, if we start, so when we started with the first strategic objective of increasing our profit margins, we can see now how the strategy from the top level is connected all the way down to the execution level, and see how this impacts our day-to-day processes. Now I'm seeing my colleagues are transmitting that we are over time, but one last thing we wanted to come back. So we offer you the integrated tools. We offer you also the content to accelerate the usage of these tools. But I think it's very important not to forget the role you as enterprise architects have. And that is to bind everything together, to orchestrate the toolchain, and to be a toolchain champion that brings the value to the customers. So I'm sorry for the rush. Do we have any time for questions?
Any questions from the audience?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. Okay. Okay. Maybe we take just
do that over lunch.
just two quickly, and then we move to the lunch, right?
Maybe my colleagues can join.
Yeah.
Maybe this
Please,
not just
please go
free.
So, actually I'm a bit confused because you have business processes embedded in Signavio.
Yes.
You have business processes in LeanIX. If I open Cloud ALM also, I see a traces of business processes. Now, when I go to the client, and if I want to refer something, which one should I say that the client you need to refer? Signavio for business, for example, or Cloud ALM?
No, it's like Signavio is always the strategic solution when it comes to business process management. So you can maintain the processes there, you have all the capabilities to analyze the process and all the capabilities to also model the process there. It's more advanced, for example, than in Cloud ALM. However, from Signavio, you can sync the processes to Cloud ALM or to LeanIX.
Start there and then
Exactly.
for LeanIX and then.
Yeah.
Exactly, so everything is synchronized. The source is the same, it's our reference architecture, reference process with the process model, but every tool is reflecting the same process model.
But if
You
want to
start in one place, and it just is the same all across the toolchain. That's the important thing. You can look at them everywhere, but they originate in one place. And that's the important
So the
message.
taxonomy is same across
Yes.
all the modules?
That's the beauty of it. That's what you want. So every stakeholder talks about the exact same thing, and there's no confusion. Like the example from Cristina. There is different ways to name the exact same thing across other content groups, yeah, like APQC, you name it. And they just name it differently, and you have a huge fight in it's my life, yeah? You have a huge fight, but no, that's the process, no, that's the process. And you stand there and go, but that's exactly the same, guys, stop fighting. And that's what we propose. You go with one, integrated across the toolchain, helps the entire organization to fall into place. Kind of enforce alignment.
Sorry, Puneet raised his hand first, so maybe I'll give it to him.
Yeah, hi. Wanted to understand what is the opportunity to have this tool chain, also have your cybersecurity and compliance platform. So why has SAP, or I don't know if integrated tool chain, is that a SAP thing or that's an industry thing, but why can't we embed compliance, financial compliance, or cybersecurity or identity as part of this tool chain, so that when enterprise architects are putting forward this tool chain, it's a secure tool chain, and security and compliance is not afterthought, which I can tell you still it is.
That's why we have these talks. Let's have this tool chain as a start. Look, SAP, listen, 50 plus years of experience, and the journey is always a challenging one, shall we put it like that? To a certain degree, okay? So the tool chain helps you on your journey, and while you run things, it doesn't end there. It's a journey. You start, and yes, security will be there as well. In the end, it's not now. But I think now we should vacate this.
Just last one.
It is quick one.
Yes, okay, go on, please.
Yeah, in the tool chain I saw you have mentioned as a data migration, Synity is the tool, not
Yes.
the data service. Does it mean that SAP is now recommending strongly to use Synity instead of data service?
I think there are two different ways of doing things. Synity helps you a lot with like clustering data from non-SAP systems. It can analyze, and it knows the target architecture, and like AI helps you. Again, you don't want to do it all by yourself. 80% it can map all by itself, and then you only have to do the last 20, which we all know as 80% of the effort in it anyway. But that's the story. It's complementary. They help each other. Big picture. I can put up again this fantastic picture where you don't know what's going on because there's so many bullets on it. But that's about it.